Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. It's actually evening time. It's in the middle of November, and I've been looking at all the books that I have read over the past year and what I hope to read in the next, about 6 weeks. And so it's Nonfiction November coming up. I have one more book to go through. One turned out to be quite a disappointment. That's The Cat's Tail right there. And I was thinking about what I really want to do for the next year, and I have this pile of books. I'm going to just change the camera angle, so hold on to your stomachs. I have this pile of books that, oh, sorry guys. It's at the bottom of the stairs so that it stays with the, the brand. But what's happened over the course of the last 20, no, sorry, not 20, I was going to say 20 years. I don't mean 20 years. In the last 8 months since COVID, there's been a lot of shuffling of books off of shelves where either they're books on my shelves where I thought, yeah, I should really read that. Or they've come through other people who have been purging their shelves and going, oh, I thought you might like this. So this is what I call the guilt TBR. They're not really books that I necessarily want to read, but they've been given to me. So I feel like there's a commitment because it's a gift. And we all know that, gifts have this weird psychological piece happening to them where somehow you have an obligation to the gift giver, and that's just a completely packed piece of psychology. So I thought, in all honesty, let's purge the TBR to be read pile. And the first one is a honker of a book. It is Rivers of Stars by Guy Gabriel Kay. And it's a novel. It's sort of the beginning of a trilogy. It's set in China. And I read Guy Gabriel Kay, oh my God, what's his name? Guy Gabriel Kay way back in university. There was a really interesting trilogy that I enjoyed quite a bit. So I thought, well, if I enjoyed that, I must enjoy this. No, I don't know what it is about China. I just never seem to enjoy them. I think maybe in all these years I've enjoyed one book that has come from China as a setting, and so this came from a friend of mine, a very dear friend, and I think it might have been her husband's book, and she was just trying to clear the shelves. Anyways, I don't want to read it. I've had it on my shelf for about 2 years, and Another one is The Real World of Technology by Ursula M. Franklin. It's one of the CBC Mathew lecture series. And again, it's sort of like, I should read it. I should want to read this. CBC lectures are supposed to be really, I don't know, I wouldn't say avant-garde, but they would be topical. They're definitely of the moment. And Ursula Franklin is a Quaker, and I'm a Quaker, and so I should want to read this, but I don't, like, why don't I want to read it? I don't know. It just doesn't sing to me. So she's going on the pile that is not, I don't want to read it, but I should read it, and maybe one day I'll feel guilty enough to read it. Another one is A Traveler in Time by Alison Utley. Now, a very dear friend of mine was purging her bookshelves back, this book's been on my pile for, 4 or 5 years. And she was doing this very serious purge. And it kind of appealed to me because it's a time traveler thing. It's old. It's kind of around the time of Half Magic. I don't know if any of you read that book when you were younger, but Half Magic I really enjoyed. And so I thought, that could be okay. So this is on the okay, maybe I'll keep it pile, but barely. Love Letter to the Earth by Thich Nhat Hanh is one of those books where I feel like I'm supposed to want to read it. It's a beautiful book. They're beautiful readings. And Thich Nhat Hanh is a Buddhist priest who's got, I'm pretty sure it's in France, that he has got a school for the study of Buddhism and all those. Just below there, it's a cat. This is another one where I feel like I should want to read it. My husband gave it to me for a Christmas gift. We've read it once or twice. We thought it might be a read aloud together, but every time we have read it, we've just kind of go, what do you do with that? Doesn't really generate a lot of discussions because it just seems kind of, yeah, that's obvious. Anyways, it's just not quite as stimulating as we both thought, and that's been on my pile for a billion years, like unbelievable amount of years. Heart's Blood by Jane Yolen. Now, this is a book that came to me again through my friend who was purging her shelves. Jane Yolen is an excellent author, and it has dragons. There's really nothing that shouldn't draw me to it. It ticks a lot of boxes, and yet I have not got the energy or the interest to open that. So that's on the pile of, well, maybe I should. We'll see. Let me see. There's another one here. Richard Ford, Canada. I really don't know why it's on my pile. I don't know how it arrived in my life. It doesn't have the name of the person that gave it to me. Yeah. Don't know why it's there, and not sure why I think I should read it. I think I'm going to put it with the Guy Gabriel K one. Just doesn't, again, like it's been there for too long, and I'm not interested. Now, okay, this is Pete Houtman. I do love Pete Houtman. He's written a couple of books, Godless in particular, that I have really enjoyed. And so, therefore, I figure, Pete Houtman, Godless, therefore, I should read it. So I think this is going to stay on my list of books that I want to read, just not right away. And I should say that the title of the book is Invisible. My husband read this, and he was kind of like 50-50 on, whether it was a good book or not. Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, I think this has been commented on before through BookTubers vlogs. I think it's had good reviews. I don't exactly know how it appeared in my pile. I'm going to put it with the Pete Houtman list pile because I think it's probably going to be okay when I finally get to it. I think the big thing about this pile is it's just so vast that I can't quite bring myself to whittle it down or to approach it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever do this to yourself where you create a list of everything that you're supposed to do in your life and then you go, where the heck do I start? That's kind of what my TBR is like. So this one is American Street, Ibi Zaboy. It's got a great cover. Let's see, what is that about? On the corner of American Street and Joy Road, Fabiola Toussaint thought she would finally find une belle vie, a good life. But after they leave Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Fabiola's mother is detained by U.S. immigration. I don't know, it doesn't excite me. So I'm going to put that one on the, got 4 piles here. I'm going to put that on the maybe if I get around to it pile, like maybe in desperation. I mean, there's still lots of opportunities for lockdown, so I shouldn't get rid of everything because what will I do if there's lockdown? The Boy in the Black Suit has come to me from a fellow book, Jason Reynolds, has come to me from someone who's in one of my book clubs, the Woozles book clubs, and I think for her she gets, well, that's a long story, but she gets books that she's supposed to read for Battle of the Books, which is a whole story. And I think this one was sort of an arc, I think that's what it's called. And so she thought I might like it. And again, it's just, kind of an obligation book. So I'm going to put that along with American Street. Maybe I'll get to it. Pandemic kind of plays a role in this because, I don't want to get rid of a book if we're going to be locked down again because what if I don't have enough books in my life? So I'm going to have the pile of books that I really want to read and the pile of books that are going to be read if I'm in trouble. Pandas on the East Side. It's a cute little cover. It's by Gabrielle Prendergast. gassed. There's only 2 R's. Okay. When Journey Song hears that 2 pandas are being held in a warehouse in her beloved and poverty-stricken neighborhood, she worries that they may be hungry, cold, and lonely. Journey makes it her mission to save the 2 animals, but she's going to need some help. I don't know, kind of like not a lot of nothing there, so I'm going to put it over with the love letter Out to the Earth by Thich Nhat Hanh, because it might be okay, and in desperation, I will read that. It looks cute. The cover is cute. Joseph Boyden, When Jack. Now, I've had this on my pile for probably, I'm going to say 5 years. I believe my husband gave it to me for Christmas one year. And it is by an author. I don't know if he's Canadian. Is he Canadian? Anyhow, he's a really interesting author. He's written a lot of deep, dark books about First Nations. And I'm interested in this. It's actually something I want to read, but I feel like I need to read his other writings before I come to this. That's what's held me back. And I think it's a bit more lyrical, a bit more poetic. So I don't think there's a ton of plot to this. So that's another reason why I've kind of held back on it. I really want to read his other books before I come to this one. Okay. To Read Aloud, edited by Francesco Dimitri. Rediscovering the Lost Art of Reading and Listening. So Steve and I read quite a lot of books out loud. We've kind of softened a little bit on that. There have been other things happening in the evenings where we're just so tired by the time the evening comes around that reading out loud is not really high on our priority list. So this book is again a bit of a desperation book in that if the books we've chosen aren't working or we're between read alouds, this is the book that we pick up. So it's still on my TBR because it has possibilities. And everything we've read has not been a stinker. Okay, this is another one. How to Sit by Thich Nhat Hanh. That has been given to me by someone who is very kind, very loving, my sister. And it was important to her in her chaotic world. And she lives a life where there are so many calls on her attention that she rarely gets an opportunity to just be peaceful and centered. And so she bought this in the hopes that by reading it, it would help her to come to a point in her life where she would be a little more centered, I guess. And I think that this has been helpful to her. So I'm going to keep it on my TBR. Thich Nhat Hanh is someone who I really enjoy, but I don't know, there's only so many self-help books that I can read without getting overwhelmed. I once said to my psychologist back in the day that if I followed every suggestion that was ever made, I'd be the reincarnation of Buddha. This book I purchased in the summer, not that long ago. It's John Hawkes' The Frog, and it was a fun shopping trip. I don't know why I bought it. It's kind of an impulse buy, and I'm going to put it with the pile where The Boy in the Black Suit is because it's probably good, it's probably fun, but I bought it more out of, kind of like anxiety. I bought it out of anxiety in order to fill my bookshelf in case I don't have any books. All right, this book, I loved it the first time I read it, Ishmael. It is by Daniel Quinn, who is the author of Providence, and it's an adventure of the mind and spirit. It would be a reread for me, and I don't entirely remember who. It was just a 3-ad line in the personal section, but it launched the adventure of a lifetime. Teacher seeks pupil, must have an earnest desire to save the world, apply in person. And I don't know why, but I think that there's a gorilla. I really enjoyed this book. It's kind of deep, psychological, it's philosophical, it's moralistic in terms of it examines the A and the B of morals. And in the current world that we're sitting in, A and B morals just don't work very well. It seems to me there's like the entire alphabet of morals, and so we don't really have a very clear sense from the society that we live in as to what are our values and what shouldn't be our values. And it actually, it's kind of hard right now to hang on to your values and not get kicked in the nuts. So I think this is a positive book. It had definitely, I remember reading it with great relief in that there were people in the world who had similar kinds of views of the world than I did. So I think it would be a good book to kind of ratify my own brain, but at the moment I'm just not sure that I want to go through the process of questioning myself. So I'm going to put it in the middle pile. Okay. Arturo Perez Reverte, King's Gold. I do not remember how this came onto my pile. I don't know whether my husband found it and stuck it on the pile. I don't remember whether a friend was just purging her bookshelf. I don't have any attachment to this book or its theme. It's going with the Guy Gabriel K pile. All right. Colette, Gigi, and the Cat. I read this back in my 20s. This would be a reread for me. And I remember thinking that she was, at the time, I was really impressed with her as an author. I'm going to keep this on my TBR list because even though it's a reread, I loved it the first time. And I think I might have been too young. I think it's one of those books where now that it would be close to 30 some odd years since I've read it, I think it would be an interesting reflection opportunity. This is Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, and I remember enjoying it the first time. Again, I think I flew through it. It was one of those university time moments where I don't know if it was a course book or if I was reading it between courses, and I don't think I gave it its full due. And I do like reading classics of some sort, so I'm going to keep it on the TBR list. I think it's a solid book, and there certainly have been some interesting adaptations, so I'd like to reread that. Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. This is a bizarre emotional response to this book because Ursula Le Guin was so touted when she was writing, and I think she's dead. I don't know if she's dead. Anyhow, I read this as part of a university course. There's all kinds of dog-eared corners in this. I do have all three books. I bought them all at the same time, and I remember loving it. And I think it's one of those gateway books where it opens your doors, your eyes, your mind, whatever, to a whole new way of writing. I'd never read this kind of science fiction before, and I don't know that I had even read much about magic. I mean, as a kid, I would read the sort of fairy tale magic, but I don't think I read one where it felt like magic was part of the world. Something like Cinderella, you know, it's kind of that little group of people in the story of Cinderella that have magic, but this is a whole world, a whole universe of magic, and so it was a real eye-opener for me. And I have started to reread it. I'm on page 50, and it might be one of those books that was pivotal that shouldn't be revisited. Where should I put this? I guess I'll put it with Ishmael because it would be a reread and I have to be in the right mood for it. What have I got here? James Lee Burke, The Tin Roof Blowdown. So this is not the second book in the series. I did reread the first book in the series, and what I've decided to do is put Tim Lee Burke on my to be read pile number 2 coming up for January. It's going to be, I'm going to buy book number 2, whichever that one is. Sometimes the publishers put a list. Where is it now? They put this great big long list up of what the author has written, but they don't necessarily put it in chronological order. So the first one in the list is Swan Peak. Well, I know that's not the first book. The Neon Rain, I believe, is the first book. But whether the Tin Roof Blowdown is part of the series or not, anyways, the lists are they're kind of irritating because I just want the first book, the second book. Okay, that's a different series. The first book, the second book. These are kind of a mishmash. And anyhow, what I mean to say from all of that is that it will be on my TBR book. This is kind of a place marker to remind me that I want to read James Lee Burke in the winter. And what do we got next? Oh, right, that's another book where I just have the book off the shelf. This is Voyageurs by Margaret Elphinstone. And I love this book. It's about a Quaker who goes to, Quaker missionary from England, and he goes to find his sister. It's very interesting. I really enjoyed it. A friend of mine who was dying of cancer and I read it together for part of it. That's what the green bookmark is, because I read it first and then we started to read it together, and that's as far as we got. Anyhow, she's a great author. Really loved the intensity of her books. And so this is a place marker book also for my TBR list, and that I want to seek out her other books. Okay, I think that's the end. The rest of it is my husband's list. Or not list, but books. He's got, there you can see in the corner. Out of all those books, there we go. Hold your stomachs. He's got this, no, sorry gang. He's got this tiny little pile. This eensy-weensy little pile compared to the, linear feet of mine. So he's entitled to a lot of space. He just doesn't take it. He's not a hoarder like I am. So over to the left of me, there are 3 steps, and on each step I've got November, December, and January. November is nonfiction month, and December I'm going to try and finish my classics that didn't get read over the year, and January are just books that I'm really looking forward to. So that feels like such a relief. That was like spring cleaning in November. I've got this much smaller, very, very much smaller books that I want to read, authors that I want to follow up on, books for the pandemic desert that is ahead of us, and I guess we're kind of expecting something after Christmas. We all don't know how Christmas is going to work and how people are going to self-isolate, or, that whole, like, what are we going to do around Christmas piece? And I think that will be a little bit on my mind, because I do feel if I've got a pile of books, I'm calm. If I don't have a pile of books, I'm anxious. So that's my anti-anxiety pile. I have 3 books that are for my, if I'm getting bloody fucking desperate. And then I have 3 books where they can go somewhere else. I don't need to own them. That was a relief. In the meantime, in the background, my husband is making pizza. We are going to have a really nice Saturday night, little bit of wine left over from last week, pizza night. And we're watching Anula, which I have watched. The costumes are great. She's a great little character, and I did not know this, but there are several books in the series of Anula. She's the sister of Sherlock Holmes, and so that will be another project for me to get, hopefully from the library. I haven't checked yet, but I'm hoping the library has the whole series up to date, because I think that would be fun to read. So that's it for me. Books at the bottom of the stairs. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and I hope you have a really nice whatever's in front of you. Bye-bye.